that hate card and never give up when the gun goes race star.
I won't stop, I'm here to get what I want. I'm not lost, I'm here to make it to the top. I'll take a shot, I'll overpower any boss. Cause I am not someone that you would wanna cross. I won't stop, I'm here to get what I want. I'm not lost, I'm here to make it to the top. I'll take
Hello and welcome to the Marko Yamashita Show. I am your host, Marko Yamashita. We are doing take 3 after OBS decided to, freeze or just stop working. In either case, it was not communicating properly with YouTube, so I did have to reboot, so I apologize for starting late. I had anticipated on starting 15 minutes ago, but nevertheless we are here now. Things appear to be working. I am not getting any error messages, so we will just roll with it. And if take 3 is also a bust, it must be God telling us that we should not be streaming today. So, regardless of that, it is very nice to be with you again this week. We are just a day after the reaction by the Tokyo stock market regarding Anycolor's stock value. And as we can see from the chart that is above me, and this is a usual type of stock behavior, Anycolor's stock originally opened up trending downwards. That when you have a huge amount of gain on a stock, there is typically a pullback before the investors decide which way the stock is going to go. In this case, there was a original pullback on the stock, and now it is trending higher. We are breaching an additional 2% gain, almost 2% gain, 1.8 to 1.5. And it's going to pretty much go back and forth like this until either they hit a certain mark where you have a bit of sustainability within that range, or you have another sell-off because people bought the dip and now they're trying to cash in on it. So, and I explained to several of the people, my regulars that come to my channel, yesterday, that had I been able to get in on the Anycolor stock before the market opened, I would have had a pretty nice gain on my return on investment. When you do the conversions and everything else, that 21% gain came out to probably roughly about $400 in US dollars, as far as had I been able to buy the stock when it was at low point. There was an approximately I think it was $416 gain overall before the Japanese or the Tokyo's stock market halted trading on Anycolor because they had breached a specific value, which triggers an automatic circuit breaker that halts the value of that stock. Now, they do tend to have circuit breakers that go up as well as circuit breakers that go down, and it is to ensure that there is not some sort of chaotic type of trading going on with any particular product that causes the rest of the exchange to have either irregularities or issues regarding the trading of that particular company. So it was and it's an expected type of reaction from the Tokyo stock market, though. Had they allowed Anycolor to continue to go, chances are they probably would have gone up by an additional 20%, or in some cases, according to some of the analysis that you get from this site called investing.com, some of the analysts are predicting upwards of 4,000 yen, 4,450 yen as a price target, based upon, I think there were three or four investors that this number is derived from. I believe it's 3 or 4. Regardless, oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's a consistent. It is a consensus from the polling of 4 analysts that they feel like the average upside for the stock for the coming year is approximately 44.50, with a high close to 5,000. Now they have reached that. They have touched that. I think it was like 2 years ago they had touched that ceiling before they ended up having a pullback on their stocks. So why is I swear everything is going whack today. Now my microphone is peaking. Okay, well, also just as a cliff note here, I'm also going to be using this particular stream as a reference video for something I am currently working on. So just to give people who may watch the VOD a heads up, I will be using this particular stream as a reference video. So with that in mind, let's move on to the topic at hand here. There were many questions I had in my mind on why exactly Anycolor had not done any kind of stock value buyback on their particular on their company stock, and why did they allow their forecast for the entire fiscal year to stand, and they didn't do any adjustments to it. And we can see from the results from the stock market reaction that they did not have any concern about the fact that they may or may not make those certain benchmarks that was either spelled out in their material or that were being levied on by analysts in the stock market. And as a result, as we're seeing right now, Anycolor is doing extremely well, 2 days out from announcing their fiscal report, which honestly I am ecstatic to see, because in my view there has been a lot of unneeded, how can I put it delicately, that there has been a lot of animosity pushed against Anycolor for all these things that have happened over the past year. And quite frankly, they deserve to have a moment to shine, because those things happen with just 1 or 2 people at a time that they may have hired that didn't work out. However, there's an entire group of, I think, something like over 100. How many people again? There's they have a large 158. They have 158 other VTubers that worked extremely hard for the company, and their work deserves credit. And as you'll see today, I am going to be highlighting something that I feel is extremely unfair. with the English speaking press that have covered things that this recent release of their information, and how just disingenuous it is that the English speaking news media has against this company who had a bad egg that they had hired, and that person decided to stir up all sorts of trouble. And with a lot of different idealisms that are currently in play with certain communities in the English speaking world, they took their side, and they're the loudest people out there. So with that in mind, let's move on a little bit here. This document that we have in front of us is a document that was released yesterday, and I am actually very excited to talk about this, because it also explains why initially Anycolor had not done any stock buyback in regards to their company and the stock price of the current valuation of their stock price. Now, as of yesterday, the representatives of the board of directors held a meeting pertaining to the stock repurchase based upon and this is corporate law speak here, based upon corporate law, Article 156 of corporate law as applied by etc. etc. And the reasoning behind why they're doing a stock buyback now is because the company believes that they have continuously generated a large amount of cash while maintaining a high growth rate, which is absolutely true based upon all the information that is currently out there. And today announced that it has formulated a mid-term capital allocation policy to optimally allocate investments for growth and shareholder returns. Based upon this policy, in order to improve capital efficiency and enhance return to shareholders, the company has decided to repurchase its own shares, taking into consideration its investment capacity, stock price level, and market environment and outlook on its financial condition. Now, that's a lot of big words for them to say, hey, look, we made it through the year. We have been able to prove, despite everything that has happened over this past year, that we are still here. Our company is healthy. The rest of our VTubers, our livers are doing extremely well. Here's the proof. We are bringing in all sorts of capital and all sorts of revenue, and it doesn't just have to deal with YouTube streaming or platform streaming. There are other avenues that we are actively working on with our talent to expand and continue to grow what these individuals are, which are not just people playing games online. That they are able to do other things and be in other venues, and the company is able to thrive by being able to take our talent and put them out there. So that is basically what they proved yesterday with their physical report. So this also gives them the capability of shrinking the amount of stock that is available out there for purchase that are considered outstanding. And since they are buying back those stocks, they shrink the pool, which keeps the price from bottoming out. Now, the other major factor in this is the fact that they are buying over 7,500,000,000 yen worth of stock. Okay, that is not an insignificant number. If we look at the exchange price right now, they are reinvesting. Now, this is the key word, reinvesting. They are reinvesting $47,683,957 worth of their own money that is coming into the company. They're taking that money and they're reinvesting it back into the company because they have faith that the company will be able to continue to generate profit without them holding on to this cash like everyone keeps thinking. They are reinvesting that money into the company to help the company continue to grow. And that helps with all sorts of things, from budgeting to being able to hire more staff, more talent, improve the technology that they're using, and have people work on the software that they're using, the various platforms, the various illustration, 2D, 3D modeling, all these things. This is where the money goes when they reinvest back into their company, because they're basically saying, okay, we're willing to risk this money instead of pocketing it. Where everyone's like, well, yeah, they're just making money and pocketing it, and buying yachts and whatnot. It's like, no, they are not. They are taking 7 billion yen and they are reinvesting it back into the company because they believe in the company that they have built. Now, there is something to be said about a certain branch of that company that needs to have time and a hard look in the mirror and say, okay, do we really want to be known as just this mess? And that's something that, that's a completely different conversation. But regardless, I found this fascinating that they waited until now. They waited until they were able to prove, hey, our company is still growing, unlike what certain people out there are trying to push. Our company is still growing. Our numbers we have our numbers as reported, as evidence that we have, we are not resting on our laurels here, and that they are reinvesting money that they could have easily pocketed for themselves or put in the bank or whatever. They're taking that money, reinvesting it in the company, and they are looking at a bright future, which is great, because competition does bring about innovation and growth. And it would be a sad day if the competition suddenly did not exist, because then you have stagnation within the industry, because there's no competition. There's no reason to really to innovate. There's no one there to challenge their place. So that it's a good thing. Okay, now I'm not going to go over all the technical things that are here on the various reports, but what I do want to do is I do want to go through some of these slides just extremely quickly, that way for posterity, and also to prove a point. That there are places out there that are currently trying to spend an agenda, and stoke the flames and fires of, they're just, they're a black company and all this other stuff, and it's like, no, no, not by a long shot. You don't pay your talent $45,000 a month and be called a black company. Okay, if they were a black company, you would not be paying your talent $45,000 a month. And how do I know that? Again, all we gotta do is read. If more people read, you would not have this problem. But it's simple. It's extremely simple. All you have to do is look at slide 2 here, or actually it's slide 4. You look at slide 4 here, and you come down to the notes, and where you see the little 1, That includes fees paid to the VTuber, various platform fees, which is basically paying the 30% that goes to YouTube. That's what that means. And then other costs for merchandise and event-related sales, which means, you know, that they take out the cost that is, they already subtract the cost for the making of their physical goods. That's what that means. All right. You know, this isn't like 4 years ago where the talent had to front the money in order for them to have goods. All right. That's what this means. That the goods that they have for all their sales, like anniversary packages and you know, celebrating an anniversary for being a VTuber, those kind of things, you know, birthday merch, all that other stuff. That's what this is. That number is already figured into the direct variable cost, which is labeled right here. And if you do the math, on average, each VTuber gets about 45,000 a month. That's the math. You know, that's why math is important, I guess. I don't know. It's the first time I've ever had to actually use math for something as anyways, okay, well, I don't know what I wanted to say. But okay, so now I do also want to point out this really quick here. Now, there was an article that was done up by somebody who works at Siliconra, and you know, their big headline is Anycolor financial results show massive Nijisanji EN drop. Oh my gosh. You know, and then if you come down here and you start reading what this person put in here, they say, in a new financial report from Anycolor, we can see that compared to the same time last year, revenue from Nijisanji EN is down. Well, I wonder why. Well, it's because you had several people that that either walked out or got the boot because of their behavior. Okay. Anycolor has also compiled a report on what they plan to do to increase their numbers again, which honestly, the way this is worded sounds like they're like, oh, we're in panic mode. We need to have some kind of thing that we can sell everybody to you know, get our numbers back up. No. It's an annual physical report along with what their sales agenda is going to be for the coming year. That it happens every year. It's not something that is brand new. Okay. Now, for starters, in fiscal year 23-24, Nijisanji EN made 1506 from live streaming and okay, let's back up here real quick, okay? Because first off, it's not $1,506, okay? This is why you have an editor proofread what you do and actually reread and understand the material that you are trying to write an article about it, because it's 1,506 million yen, not dollars, yen. Okay, these are all supposed to be yen, so, and they're using US dollars. Okay, so that's problem number one. Number two, they're trying to make a case here that, you know, they are seeing such an excessive drop from, you know, since the Selen and everyone else left Nijisanji, and they're not making as much money streaming, doing live streaming and everything else. You know, live streaming likely means money they are making from super chats and such. You know, commerce has to do with goods. However, in 2024, Nijisanji made 1226 from live streaming and 2911 from commerce. In comparison, JP, okay, so first off, Umberto, welcome to the chat. I am doing great. Thank you for being here. How are you doing? First off, I'm sorry. I do have to laugh every time I read stuff like this from people, because it proves that they are not telling an accurate picture, and it's not an accurate representation of what the actual situation is. Because first off, if you look at the numbers of VTubers for Anycolor and Nijisanji, okay, now there are only 31 people that are employed as EN talent. Okay, 31 people compared to last year or last quarter. They had 33 people, so they lost 2 people, right? Okay, now if you look at JP, the Japanese branch, they have 127 people that are employed. All right, so the comparison is extremely disingenuous, because you are comparing one branch that is 4 times as large as the EN branch. Of course, they're going to be bringing in more money. It would be completely devastating if the JP branch was bringing in less. Okay. Second, if you look at the breakdown of what the revenue is in the business area that they're trying to do here in this article, which is completely it only tells half the story. If you compare the revenue by business area, I want my audience and everyone that watches this to understand one thing, okay? Number one, unlike what other people believe, and like Covercore and a lot of other people believe, their revenue is not solely hinging upon live streaming and super chats. Okay, it's not. It does not work that way, especially now. Back in 2019, 2020, yes, that those were integral parts of the business, because they were, the VTuber scene was just heating up back then, and people were just starting to get into it and being excited about it. So yeah, you were seeing Akaspas being thrown left and right. All right, but if you look at the numbers, especially for Nijisanji, I want people to pay close attention to this, because if you look at the numbers, these numbers are largely flat and are unchanged, and on average for the last 2 years. Okay, and if you go back even further, you'll see that there is a definite shrinkage of things like promotion and commerce and everything else like that, because that's the way it grows. And as lockdowns went away, and as people started being able to get out and about and do things in life again, the live streaming became less of an everyday thing in people's lives. And that's why you see this expansion within commerce and live events and promotions and everything else. They make just as much, if not more, money off of selling their IP and being a collaboration in a promotion for other companies. They make more money doing that than live streaming. That is huge. I mean, if you look back at 2023, I mean, for their fourth quarter of 2023, they only made 908 million yen on promotion, and on live streaming they had 1251 million yen. Right, that was last year. Compare that to this year, it's gone up by 700 million yen to 1,610 million yen versus 1,149 on live streaming. There's no dip there. I'm sorry. There is no, it's not a significant dip, right? People will say, oh yeah, there is a dip. There's a dip of about 65 million yen. When you look at 65 million yen and then you converse that to the amount of growth that you see off a promotion, it's negligible. It's expected. Live streaming is becoming shorter. The content is becoming smaller. The Cool 2T, welcome to the chat. Thank you for being here. You look at the revenue that comes in for this company, and you start looking at the actual trends that are out there. Back 4 years ago, we used to see people that were doing 5 8-hour streams a week. You used to see that because we couldn't go outside. There was no place for us to go. Everything was shut down. So they were doing 8-hour, 10-hour streams. But as lockdowns went away and as people started being able to do things in public and things started opening up, we're starting to see people. They may do a 5, 6, 7, 8-hour stream, but that's mostly like on a weekend. And then during the week, they're doing like a 2, maybe 3-hour stream, depending on like what their specialty is within the agency. But you largely don't see that anymore because the current trend in streaming is shorter streams. Because there's other things to do. That's why we're seeing Nijisanji and Halt Life, making a concerted effort to spread their brand around into other facets of commerce in order for them to diversify what their talent can do. But if there is inflation, we have to discount the difference. That is also true. Thank you very much for reminding me of that. There is also inflation as well. I've shown this chart, several times. I've showed this chart several times where. Go back. Currencies. If we look at the and this is just over from since January, we have seen an 11% rise in inflation just from the dollar to yen ratio. If we compare that to a year ago, it's 12%. If we compare that to 5 years ago, it's almost 45% difference. In 5 years, it's gone up that high. If we look at this is right before lockdown. It was at 108 yen. Right, and then it rose almost 55 or 45, almost 45%. To 158. That would be crushing. That has been crushing. The Bank of Japan is constantly deliberating what they're going to do because the yen just doesn't get any stronger against the dollar. So that they either have have to do something drastic on their end, or they have to figure out a way to have their economy, be able to survive within this, basically a hyperinflation type of situation. I don't even know what it was like. If we look max, it hasn't been that high since 1998. I don't know if this chart goes back any further, but if you look back before this in the 70s, there was also a peak of, I think it was about 145, somewhere around here, back in the 70s, and that's when their first real recession hit post World War II, of course. So yeah, we were looking at a very different financial environment. Yeah, stagflation, exactly. So but thank you. Yes, I mean, that's why I love you, my man. You always bring in something that I miss when I'm talking. So thank you. So, I'm a bit critical on people who do articles like this, because number one, I mean, it isn't $1,506 US, young lady. It's 1,506 million yen. So, but I don't know. Maybe she doesn't realize that there's a different symbol for yen, or that, maybe the font is too small on the PDF for her. I mean, it's right there, million yen. It's right here. I mean, you cited these numbers, so I mean, it's even on here too. Millions of yen. So I don't know where she got that from. But anyways, okay, I'll stop picking on her for right now. No, actually, I'm not. So most of the policies from Anycolor, when it comes to increase of growth focus on Nijisanji as a whole, the company plans to strengthen their business foundation by employing more people for management and planning, as well as increasing the number of VTubers with an average of around 10 to 15% per year through new debuts. Okay, so yes, they are definitely still. They've always been looking for more people to manage the talent there, because there's a disproportionate amount of talent when compared to management, especially on the EN side. From my understanding of it, they're also always looking to hire people to plan out more things, because if we look at the lovely chart that they gave us, compared to quarter 3, when we talked about this, they had 388 people employed in quarter 3, and they hired 42 people between that quarter and this quarter. They hired 2 more in business administration. They hired 6 more in studio content production and development of streaming apps. So these are likely people who work with like Unity and other products like that, or perhaps even the development of mobile gaming, because I do know that they have some mobile apps that they have over in Japan regarding Niji. And I also believe that they have moved. They used to have a fan club website that they shut down, and I don't know if that was linked to one of the apps, the phone apps, but I did see a notice that they were people were asking why it was shutting down, because they liked it, and they said that they were looking at consolidating it because it was redundant. So I don't know. I do know that several of them still have their own fan club URLs that they actively promote. So there's a lot of messaging that is either lost in translation or just doesn't quite reach the English audience for some reason. I don't know. She doesn't even know the keyboard shortcut for yen. Yeah. And then they hired an additional 27 people in VTuber management, new YouTuber planning, content planning, and basically in planning here. So they've already hired a good amount of people here. Engineers is up here. Like I was saying, engineers typically involve, like if they develop Unity assets or products like that. So designers are typically like illustrators, stuff like that. They hired 7 people there over the past quarter. So their behavior for this past quarter alone shows that they are confident in the health of their company, which if you're gonna reinvest 7,500,000,000 yen, and that's what the press release says, that they are that's how much they're reinvesting. They're reinvesting 47,683,000 US dollars worth in their own company. I believe we can say without a shadow of a doubt they are extremely confident of the company's future and their future plans. So now I do want to I do want to touch base a little bit on a few things that that did catch my eye on the financial results here. First and foremost, these forecasts here, there's a disclosure at the end of this. I think it was either this report or the next report, that says that this forecast is an internal benchmark that they set for themselves, and it's not indicative of what the market may or may not do as a result of their business performance, and that they have no obligation to update the forecast that's stated in their report, nor do they have an obligation to actually hit that particular mark. Now, there is an argument to be made that it's a good idea for a company to have these type of benchmarks and hold themselves to it, because it exercises the confidence that analysts and the stock market and investors have within the product. However, because these are internal benchmarks, they don't necessarily reflect the reaction that you get from the stock market. And that's something I really missed on the first time around, until I read through this one and found that disclosure at the end. So the fact that they did not hit 100% on any of these numbers doesn't really matter in the grander scheme of things. And the larger picture here is the fact that they had a 26% increase on year revenue, which is positive. Direct variable cost, that this did go up. So that would be kind of like a mark on them, saying that they either need to do a better job at this, or that they need to find a better way of allocating resources or something. Now, it does also say that that they paid a bonus to all the employees that is calculated within, I believe, let's see here. There is a slide here that says that there was a one-time bonus that was paid to all employees that was figured in this direct variable cost for the fourth quarter. So that could be the reason why there was an increase in costs for this particular section here. Let's see here. Yep, there it is. So in Q4, streamlining the direct variable costs in commerce and event business contributed to profit margin improvement. Although the profit margin tends to decline in Q4 compared to other quarters during the year compared to other quarters. Due to end year bonuses, streamlining variable costs resulted in a profit margin improvement compared to both the same time and previous time for the past quarter. Okay, so there was a bonus that was paid out that's figured into this cost here. And again, this cost is directly related to what they pay the VTubers that are on their payroll. Okay, so this number includes that bonus, so that I don't want to hear either present or past Nijisanji VTubers saying, oh, they never give us anything, when they paid out a bonus. And according to this, they pay out a bonus every year. So so anyways, so let's move on just a little bit here. I did hit home the fact that live streaming is just not the focus of what their profit margin is and revenue as much as it used to be. I mean, if we look at all the numbers all the way just from last year alone, they make 3 times the amount of revenue based on commerce and merchandise versus live streaming. I mean, that alone pretty much says it all right there. And that's why we see Covercore really pushing the marketing and the constant barrage of merchandise on people that watch, because that's where they're making their profits from. And I will discuss some of those things for Covercore, but since we're already in the middle of June, I might hold off on that until their Q1 report that comes out in August. So but let's move on just a little bit here. Okay, so year-on-year results again, as we look at the last 4 years, they've continued to gain. They had a 26% increase from last year to this year alone, which is pretty substantial. A 31% operating profit, which is excellent, because that takes out all the that's minus all the cost of running the business, paying your bills, paying your employees and stuff like that. But that does not does not figure in costs like if they have loans that they're paying back, or if they have debt that's outstanding from a transaction, things like that. So that's not figured into that number. That's why the net profit over here is so much lower, by 400 million yen, or 400 billion yen, because that includes all the debt and outstanding things that they may have that they have to pay for. But we're still seeing some excellent growth from Anycolor, which is a positive. We want to see at least I do. I want to see this company to continue to succeed, because competition brings about innovation, and I've yet to see a concert from either brand featuring their talent in a 3D setting where there wasn't a section of that presentation that pulled me out of the immersion because of how their 3D model acted. 3D modeling just is, it's still not quite there yet. It's very close. However, you tend to, that you can tell that, especially when the talent is on a stage and they're doing a concert, that you can tell that by the way that they hold themselves and their body posture, that they're trying to do as little as possible to have the chance of their clothes clipping through their arms, or something kind of that brings you out of that immersion. You always see it at some point, but you can tell that the technology is almost there, but it's still not quite there yet. So and that's why it worries me that when people say oh, we're Anycolor is a black company, we should take them down and stuff like that. It's like, no, number one, you got over 100 VTubers that work for that company. That's their livelihood. And two, if you bring down a company like this that is driving innovation, Covercore may fill that void. However, that because of that void, there's complacency, and there's no incentive for them to continue to innovate. They'll just continue to look for the maximum amount of ways to monetize the people that watch them. That's it. That's all they would do. That's why you have to have innovation within competition in order to drive that next product that they want to use or they want to present to you, so that the other company says, okay, well, we can't fall behind. So that drives them to do something better. That's why you see that Anycolor has like these mobile apps and crossovers and everything else. And while they're doing that, you have Yago on the other side trying to build a virtual ecosystem that people can interact in and play as a character in, and so on and so forth. If they're able to actually pull this off, and again, we'll talk about this another day, but if they're actually able to pull this off, it would be in Anycolor's best interest to say, okay, how are we going to compete with that? And that's exactly what drives the competition between each other. I think we need a third company. Well, honestly, I am surprised, but at the same time also a little disappointed that the excitement for Idol EN, the brand that launched a few months ago, and the brand that already has an Espanol group, I was initially excited about them because they came out swinging. They their number, they're not pulling in Anycolor or Hololive numbers, but they were still pulling in some good amount of viewership. If anything else, because of curiosity. And then also when their Spanish branch launched, I was like, wow, okay, somebody actually beat Hololive and Anycolor to the punch and decided, hey, there's an entire population of people that speak Spanish that is an untapped market. There's a lot of people in Brazil and in Mexico and even in the United States that are Hispanic. There are entire there's an entire population that had not been tapped into, and this small group actually beat them to the punch. Which I thought was great. Now the excitement for that brand has waned a lot quicker than I personally hoped it would. However, it's still going relatively strong in comparison to some of the other smaller groups like like Prison Project or how Prison Project used to be, or Production Kawaii, little groups like that. But there does need to be somebody out there other than like Vizojo that is able to tap into that market and build enough of a presence to be able to actively compete against the big people who are swinging for the fences, that, you know, especially as they continue their integration into the United States and the demographic here. You know, there needs to be that homegrown competition in order to, you know, push and drive that innovation from both sides. You know, who knows if that will actually happen or not, but still, I mean, you know, it would be a good thing. Look what happened. Yeah, look what happened after they won the console wars. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, here's the breakdown of revenue by business area. Again, commerce, not live streaming, drives the business here, especially in the revenue area. You know, promotion is almost equally as important now compared to live streaming. They haven't been doing so well with events. However, I did read read ahead a little bit, and they are I think it sounds like they're planning to scale back the events that they're going to try to do to avoid the overhead cost and just make the events smaller. That way, the upfront cost that they have to pay out for like the venue and setup and all the other things won't be nearly as high. And if they shrink it down to fit the size and the capacity of the amount of fans that go out to watch them or to go to the event, I think that's probably what they're also trying to do, is they're trying to scale back the event to fit the amount of people that showed up for it. Let's see here. Okay, let's skip through. Oh, there we go. So here's Vizojo has a concert and apps. Well, they did have an appearance at one of the expos. They did have a presence at one of the expos, and I remember last year, K-Sun actually came out live. I think it was like last year and the year before. She came out live, or she was at both of them, and she did come out. I know 2 years ago she did come out live on stage, dressed as her avatar. I don't think they like have concerts or stuff like that, but they did have her presence there. Now an app, I'm not sure about an app. Now, the outlook for this coming year, which is considered 2025 since the fiscal year will end in 2025. This is something I that caught me off guard. You have Hololive promoting a baseball team on one side, and then you have Anycolor doing a collaboration and product promotion for the NBA of all people on the other side. Which I looked at that and I'm like, what, really? Wow. And I'm not trying to sound, I'm not trying to sound prejudiced against any group out there. Okay. Again, because I'm Japanese. I am Asian. I by nature am a minority in the United States, so I can have a little bit of an objective opinion on this. But I did not think that the NBA would go for something like this, considering the demographics of the people that watch their product. Now, I do know that there is a huge percentage of people that watch basketball and basketball games that are, Caucasian or descendant from Europeans, otherwise white people. And depending on what part of the United States you're looking at, there's also a very big density of Hispanics that watch like basketball. Like if you look at Texas, they got 3 teams there, for crying out loud. And if you look at like Florida, you have your Hispanics, including Cubans and whatnot. California, of course. But I just did not think. It never really occurred to me. Now, I guess it's because I've never seen any solid numbers to quantify it. Just, what the diversity is, broken down to of different ethnic backgrounds that are tuned into the fact that YouTubers are a thing and they're extremely popular, because in a lot of cases you see that there of course are the Asian people. We're dialed into that stuff because it comes from our side of the pond. And then I know that you have your Caucasian people that really like that stuff, that buy into that stuff. But it did not, my brain just kind of held up a little bit there and said, wait a minute, really? Wow. I just did not think that would be, a demographic that you're looking to dial yourself into. Now, there is also a case to be made that, baseball is more traditional because Japan is really big into baseball. There's that case to be made there. And Japan, you do see people that enjoy playing basketball over in Japan. However, I really don't think it's as popular as like baseball. So I could see Nijisanji and Anycolor going after another bigger sport in the United States to expand their reach. I could see that. Yeah, YouTube's sneaker deal. Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see Anycolor in selling a Nike shoe in a commercial, and they're doing the Nike thing. I really want to see that. That would be really cool. That would be awesome. But I mean, it just hit me out of nowhere, and I looked on the website. They have a website already set up for it, and they're going to be doing kind of like this different thing where different people are going to do promotional stuff for different, I think there's like 8 different teams or something like that. So it looks really solid. It looks very well thought out, and more power to you. That's exactly what I want to see. I want to see that kind of stuff. I really enjoy it because that makes me excited for the brand itself. That hypes me up because I can look at this and say, okay, what's the other company gonna do now? What are they gonna do? How are they gonna top this type thing? And to me, it was kind of like already like a counterpunch to what Covercore did, which I thought was pretty awesome. But yeah, they're gonna hold multiple medium-sized events. Plan to release various anniversary goods, musical content, seasonal content, and etc. And again, if we look at the revenue numbers, live streaming only constitutes 14% of their revenue. I mean that, and again, that's why I went back and said, and yeah, these are forward-looking numbers, but I mean, I still look at this and I say, to all the haters and antis out there, you guys spent so much energy trying to exacerbate the situation with Dokibird, and it really came to naught because, I mean, okay, maybe you had a little bit of a say in the fact that they were 3 forecast % away from hitting their goal, but out of that 3%, that's an entire year. and you know, your part in that only equates down to like a 0.04% effectiveness, and you spent all that energy about it, and it doesn't even matter. You know, so anyways, let's keep looking here. So we're gonna move on down. That's that. You know, here's some of the breakdowns for it. As we can see, you know, live streaming JP, you know, pulling in over at least 2% more over EN, and the fact that EN is pulling in this much, and yet they are 25% of the overall streaming revenue, despite the fact that they are a smaller group, is something to be proud of. You know, the people that are still there, they should be proud of the fact that all their hard work still amounts to, you know, 25% of the company's revenue. That, I mean, that's great. That's really great. You know, so balance sheets. I just want to stop at this balance sheet here just for a little bit, because I want to talk about liabilities. You know, when you talk about liabilities on a balance sheet here, you know, those include debt, loan payments, you know, them renting out equipment, or like in some cases renting out offices, you know, things of that nature. For Anycolor to have, you know, for Anycolor to have this much of a liability on their balance sheet when compared to their net assets is a very good ratio to see. And as you know, and we'll talk about this in another stream, but when we start looking at Cover Core by comparison, you know, they're paying down their liabilities, and you know, as they take on new liabilities, it looks like they're being consciously aware of the fact that they still want this number to go down, as opposed to, you know, well, we paid off, you know, 500 million yen worth of debt. Okay, let's go get another 500 million in debt. You know, that kind of thing. You know, that it looks like they're at least being consciously aware that the amount of debt that they have compared to the amount of assets, it is in a good ratio, and that they're trying to stick to it. In fact, they went from a 3-to-1 ratio to a 4-to-1 ratio, which is excellent. Now, you know, and again, I'm not going to go into very in-depth detail on this until another stream, but you know, when we look at Anycolor is taking on a 5-year debt, and that they are expecting to pay off that liability by utilizing a huge chunk worth of their expected revenue, which is, I mean, that's really putting faith into your company and saying, you know, we're going to be around for the next 5 years, and we're not going to, you know, have to file for bankruptcy or something, hopefully, in those 5 years, because we can't pay back our debt, you know. So, but again, that's content for another stream, but you know, anyways, yeah, and here's the statement that I didn't see until I read this piece of material. Anycolor is not obligated to update or revise any content of their forward-looking statements within this material, even in cases where new information becomes available or future events take place. So that basically means that, yeah, we have a forecast that has been written down. That's our own benchmark. You know, it's not something that we're being held to, and we have no obligation to hold ourselves to that benchmark. So all right, so let's see, let's look at anything else. Okay, yeah, we're gonna quickly go through the marketing material here for this coming year, and this is management policy for midterm growth for this coming year. And a lot of this stuff is going to look very familiar, and it's because they're ongoing goals, that they're not something that you know, that they expect to go away or diminish, unless they hire enough people to where they're satisfied that, you know, they've saturated the market and that they don't want to cannibalize their own fan base. You know, which I'm always concerned about, because, you know, every year we see that the amount of fans continues to grow in Japan, and I'm like, okay, well, how many more people are how many more people are in Japan that they haven't gotten to pay attention to them, you know? I thought it was funny. Here, a number of affiliated VTubers at end of term. Of course, they've gone from 72 to 158, so they have effectively doubled, more than doubled the amount of talent that they had, which is great. Let's see here. Our business model. A few VTubers are selected from approximately 10,000 auditioners and debut after 6 to 12 months of training. Now, I believe this is referring to the VTuber agency or academy that they are doing in Japan, as opposed to what they're doing on the English side. And when I went through this, I still have not seen any type of indication that they are actively working on that for the English side, which I think is unfortunate, because you know, they're basically expecting English speaking VTubers to come in with a skill set that can be exploited. And, you know, that I think there's a lot to be said where you bring in talent that already has the skill set, but probably already has certain behavioral tendencies, versus if you bring in somebody that is completely raw, and, you know, they have raw talent but they have potential, and you go through a 6 to 12 month training course, you know, teaching them, maybe, you know, going through voice lessons, going through, you know, what the expectations are for working for the company, you know, you instill them your company values, so on and so forth. I think there's a lot to be said about taking somebody like that, developing them, and then putting them out in front of people, versus, you know, bringing somebody in that already has, you know, their tendencies and their values and their agendas already set, and then you're hoping that they will adapt those things to your company. Yeah, there's definitely. I really hope that by next year they have at least some idea of if and when they're gonna do this VTuber Academy for the English side. So Yeah, the next slide here, they briefly talk about the fluctuations in business model. As we talked about before, live streaming revenue from live streaming is a stable, trending type of revenue. It's not something that they are consciously trying to push to get more numbers, because they know that with the way things currently are, you get less money coming in from ad revenue. You have your super chats, and you may have your memberships there. However, that can't just be your bread and butter. You have to actually pull in money from other sources, and other sources include commerce, selling merchandise, celebrating events and holidays and whatnot, promotions, working with other with other businesses, and doing collaborations with them, events. Of course, you have to worry about the overhead of running the event, but that's there. See, and they talk about the marketing features of Anycolor and diverse fan base. This was something I found extremely fascinating, guys. That they're building a broad fan base for all genders and ages, especially among young adults and Gen Z. In particular, a particular feature of Anycolor is its large female fan base, especially in terms of merchandise. Yeah, the fan base, and this is the other thing. The fan base is 68% female. That's incredible. You see more people complaining about Nijisanji and mocking it and berating them that are men, that are English-speaking men, versus the fact that 68% of their fan base, especially from Japan, they're all female. Which completely changes the dynamic of how you're trying to reach people. That, especially when the fact is that they Anycolor tends to hire a particular type, a stereotype of male in order to cater to that female audience. I find that fascinating that they the men that they hire to be V-livers, it's a very particular, seems to be a very particular set of people that can cater to that type of fan base, versus like with Hololive, that they tend to hire a lot of young women, because they know that they have a very huge male fan base. I find that just fascinating. See, we don't need to talk about that. We already talked about that. And of course, there are management goals here on what they want to shoot for. None of this stuff, they're not going to be held to any of these, of course. But they're looking to go up by almost double the revenue from this past year to 2027. So they're shooting for 3 years to be able to make that. That's pretty ambitious. Strengthen foundation to support VTubers. They're talking about, and I think the article also talked about this, where they want to hire more talent managers, and of course illustrators are always highly welcome. 3D model designers for designing their 3D models and being able to make them better. Studio engineers. A lot of this stuff seems to be, internal support staff for the VTubers, which is, which is something that is very welcome to see, because, based upon the people that complain the most that used to work for the company, they complained that they had to go out and pay their own money to get the illustrations that they wanted, that they didn't really have a manager to be able to talk on their behalf and stuff like that. Anyways, this is something that is extremely fascinating to read, that they want to be able to use their capital investments to expand their distribution studios and expand it to 3 times larger than their current size. So they're looking to do the big studio treatment for themselves, just like Hololive did. Offer a variety of content. And it looks like they're trying to dive ahead with the motion capture and better recording studios and equipment. Which is, again, all these things are a welcome sight to see that they are actively and publicly promoting, disclosing what they intend to do with the revenue and the net earnings that the company is getting. They're not just sitting there sticking it in on their new yacht like some people are saying. I mean, it costs money to build and renovate new studios. That stuff ain't cheap. So for them to talk about this openly and put this out there and actually bullet point these things is a welcome sight to see, because when people criticize them for being such a bad studio, but yet they're putting in 7 billion yen into their own company so they can build these and expand this the different studios to accommodate what they're trying to do. That's impressive. That is extremely impressive. Hell, if I worked for Anycolor, if I got hired and were working for Anycolor, I would I would consider moving to Japan just to be able to use these studios where a performer that could actually perform. Strengthening V8 again. This is the one thing I would criticize them on, is there is nothing here saying that they have done any kind of progress regarding the VTA for the EN branch. But I mean, I honestly think that based upon what I have read so far and what I've seen on these slides, that there is a extremely robust and healthy plan for the company for the next couple of years. Now, again, I do have some complaints about some of the things that they've said, such as, where's the VTA for the EN branch? How are they restructuring the EN branch in order to, maximize their potential? Are there people that, that are part of the group that they hired that are actively working on those things in order to make the EN branch a better place to, for fans above everyone else to be able to walk in there and not immediately feel like, that they're afraid to say something, and trigger, the people there into, hostility and spewing out the vitriol like what we've seen. I also, I don't know the exact circumstances of the people that were involved from several months ago. However, I did feel the anxiety and the what's the correct word for it? The hesitation of those people for, saying this is our side of the story, have a bunch of people dump on everything that they said, and then have to go out the day after and go live. I could only imagine how it might feel to be that person. So I would really like to see what they have in store for EN branch, if anything, over this next year. Because if we don't see growth within the EN branch for this next year, they might as well be written off. They might as well just be like, yeah, it's there, it's hanging in there. They only contribute about 18% of the overall revenue for the company, so let it ride. Just let it ride, and if they leave type of thing. I mean, that's pretty much what it feels like, and what it sounds like from this end. Now, if there were somebody that they had that would be more transparent and actually, have that community management and reach out to the people and the fans in the community, talk to them, be able to present them with, hey, here's an update and recap of what is happening within the EN branch this month type of thing. I think that would go a long way to alleviate a lot of the fear that people have of just being an English-speaking VTuber and saying, well, we know that Nijisanji is hiring, but after everything that has happened, I don't think I want to apply for a company like that, because all they've heard is the other side that may or may not even be true. So yeah, they have lots of long-term visions, just like everyone else. It looks like they want to make the jump from live streaming to live events, doing commerce, tie-up ads, developing idols and music. And then, of course, overseas business is way down the road because it's extremely hard to break into the EN market. But yeah, so that is about it. It looks, again, it does at least seem like the EN branch, is going to be something we'll have to keep an eye on to see how the development of the EN branch transpires over this coming year. There's always just like on the slide that we're looking at, there's always risks and a measurement of the risk factor involved with a lot of these things. At least with the business aspect of the company, the company is aggressively buying back their stock in order to reinvest within the company. Their balance sheets look good. They have a lot of what they term cash flow within the company that comes through, which means that they have money on hand to be able to pay off their obligations and pay their talent. They're not going to lose their studios and stuff like that. So it looks like, from a company perspective, that they're doing extremely well despite what people were hoping on the other side. And it's a matter of performance by the company and the management and the administration versus what you would expect as a performance evaluation from the talent. Because the talent, if they're hired, they're going to be hired for a specific reason. So that the talent is going to have talent in the area that they've been hired for, versus when you look at the administration and you look at the management aspect of the company, how they perform and how they handle the situations of trying to revamp the image of the EN branch, and then as well as continue to grow the revenue and the gains that they've had as a company. That will be the other thing that you have to look for this coming year, because honestly, you can have a company that grows, and that company can be completely on cruise control until the amount of income matches or starts becoming less than the amount that they're putting out, and then they have to look at it. But it doesn't look like that's the case here. It doesn't look like you just have this rich billionaire that is, playing a game, and he is dabbling in, a pet project. It looks like there's at least somebody at the helm that is looking out for the company and trying to grow the company. But it doesn't. It feels like there is that disconnect between the people that are on the board of directors and then everybody else. So hopefully what we see here in the near future, or at least over the next year, are significant changes that are being implemented from some type of management group that brings about Nijisanji EN 2.0. Yeah, that kind of change, because my honest opinion, unless things change within that branch, it's just going to continue to stagnate, and they're going to continue to lose fans because of what has happened and what likely could happen again if they don't make changes. That's the big thing, that they have to act on these things, and they can't just say, well, that problem's gone away because they no longer work here, so we're not going to worry about it. That kind of thing. No, you can't do that, because if you do it like that, it's just going to happen again and again and again. That you don't want that. You don't want that you don't want that when public relations is one of the most critical aspects of your company. You don't want that. So, but at any rate, I think that about covers it for all the material that I want to cover for today. It does look like we hit the lunchtime break for Japan. So it does look like the stock prices are halted for the lunch period. Oops. There you go. So it looks like lunch period. So Anycolor stock is currently down 1.9%. Again, which is expected, because we did have a 21% increase in their stock price before the circuit breaker got tripped, and now you typically have people who are selling off their stock because they're getting 500 yen per share in profits. So why not, right? So we'll typically see a sell-off on that, and then it'll likely be up and down here for the rest of the day. Before I started streaming here earlier, I did also look at Cover Core stock, and it did look like they also had a pullback in prices, but there's also been the Nikkei and the Tokyo Exchange also opened up lower, and that was primarily because of inflation numbers and the fact that the U.S. government, the Federal Reserve, said that there was likely only going to be one more rate cut for this year, which really kind of dampened things for the currencies of other markets, including Japan. So nice. Well, not really nice because it's minus 69, but still, yeah, they had a pullback on their stock too. But I mean, honestly, they've been kind of trending downward. Well, at least for the last week, they've been trending downward. But I mean, they did have a nice run and got up to almost 2,000 yen per share, which was nice for me, since I own stock in the company. But I mean, I didn't sell it or anything like that because, I didn't buy it just to sell it. I want a bigger return on investment than what I would have gotten at that price. So, yeah, whatever. Now, before I wrap things up, I do want to make one other small little tidbit here. So I, despite the fact that they missed on most of their forecasted metrics for the fiscal year, I did still intend on buying stock off for Anycolor, and I kind of liked the idea of what I mentioned about, like, when I was joking in passing about recording myself buying the stock for the company as part of my presentation. So if I'm able to complete the audition form thing and the application part of it and the audition and application video and all the other stuff that they're talking about, and then also I need to make sure I find my passport to see how long I have before I have to renew it, that kind of thing. I still do intend on doing that, but also, like I've stated in the community section, I did run into a little bit of a problem with the brokerage putting my money on hold while I was trying to get it into my global trading account and then getting it converted into yen. So that money is being held up for at least like another day or two. So I'm like, but then again, with the prices of the stock fluctuating up and down to begin with, it's kind of like, well, that's okay. Even I missed the big buy already, so I might as well wait for the dip to happen and then buy the dip. So anyways, that's where that's at. But going into this weekend, I do intend on playing Ghost of Tsushima. I did they had the new Alone in the Dark game that was on sale for I think it was like 45% off. So I did pick that up, and there is I also want to continue with the storyline aspect of Wither Waves, so that that free to play game. I've done a lot of character building in that game, so my account doesn't look like it was when I played it last week, but I do want to continue with that as well. And then there's also that new free to play game that is coming out from Hoyoverse. I believe it's next month. I already set up a room for it. It's Z cubed, Zen, ZZZ. That's what it is. So I do want to try that when they launch it, because it looks kind of interesting. It's probably going to be a cross between what they have for Third Impact and I don't know, maybe Third Impact and Genshin Impact, something like that. You know, it looks like it's in a futuristic landscape, so perhaps it'll be more futurist like Third Impact. You know, I'm not sure, but it does look interesting. So when it launches on launch day, I do want to play that as well. So we'll do that. And I have a whole smorgasbord full of games that I still have not touched yet. So at some point in the future, we will get through that as well. It also really depends on whether or not I'm able to keep my health up. You know, I am starting to feel better. So I do want to take it slow, though, because I don't want to just start going at max speed just because I'm feeling better, only to break down again. So we'll just take it one day at a time, and I'll schedule out a little bit as time goes on, so that way I can at least have an advance notice to people to put out there in case people want to come in and hang out with me. So you know, I know talking finances is not exactly, you know, something that people really want to dive into, but hey, you know, I do want to talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, then people just make assumptions and ignorant comments, and there's nobody fact checking it. So it is what it is, right? So with that being said, guys, it concludes the presentation I've had for tonight. I did try to do a little bit of polishing on my presentation and the way I talk, because I am going to be using this video as a reference video should I be able to complete the audition form and the presentation, the video presentation audition for Anycolor. So I do want to use this video as a reference point, so because it's one of the questions that they ask on the application. So just a heads up on that. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for dropping in and being here with me tonight. The Goal 2T, it's always a pleasure to see you in chat. Umberto, of course, it's really nice to see you in chat. And again, with all the lurkers that come and go, I appreciate all of you. You don't have to talk in order to spend time here with me. I appreciate you hanging out with me, perhaps even listening in a little bit on what I'm talking about. Hopefully you're able to take something away from the presentation and the information I present to you, so you are able to go out there and recognize when somebody's trying to mislead you versus when you hear accurate information and that information is being sourced and presented to you from its created sources, and not somebody who is just trying to make it up to get more likes and views. So I appreciate all you guys dropping in and talking to me and hanging out. Umberto, I'm not sure if you're still here or not, but my friend, I'm always glad to see you in chat. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Please take care of yourself. And please look forward to what I have planned for the next stream. I will post that in the community tab or on X, on my profile on X, like always. That way you guys have an advance notice of what I'll be doing for that day, and hopefully you'll stop in and hang out with me. Other than that, folks, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for being here. Please have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever the case may be for you. Until the next time, this is Marko Yamashita, signing off. Peace.